The Emmy Awards aired last night in prime time. If you didn't watch, you weren't alone. And by the way, we don't judge. Even by the usual standards of show business, last night's show was a remarkable triumph of identity politics over art and entertainment. Even before it began, an actress called Issa Rae told reporters she was planning to judge the nominees solely on the basis of their skin color without reference to their talent or achievement. And she wasn't the only one.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody black.
I want to thank Trump for making black people #1 on the most oppressed list. He's the reason I'm probably up here.
Those comments didn't seem to raise an eyebrow, but of course they didn't. It's 2017, and so we're used to open race hostility from the left, so used to it that many of us no longer even notice. The entire show was like that. It came closer to political indoctrination than entertainment. Here's a selection.
Unlike the presidency, Emmys go to the winner of the popular vote.
I suppose I should say, at long last, Mr. President, here is your Emmy.
Imagine if your president was not beloved by Nazis.
And in 2017, we still refuse to be controlled by a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
So celebrities are liberal. They don't like Trump. Whatever, that's fine. In fact, it's normal. That's not what is striking here. Last night's show wasn't really about Trump. It was an expression of the contempt America's ruling class has for the rest of the country, for the zip codes they don't live in. The middle class elected Donald Trump last November. Last night, Hollywood denounced them for doing it. But don't kid yourself. You could have heard the exact same contempt for middle America at any Google board meeting or Facebook employees retreat, or for that matter, at any bar in Washington where fundraisers from both parties regularly gather. What we're watching now is no longer a debate between conservatives and liberals. It's an unbridgeable divide between those who've reaped the massive benefits of global capitalism and the rest of the country, which has not. The winners justify their immense wealth and power by imagining they deserve it. They're simply better and more deserving than everyone else. The people beneath them deserve what they get, too. They're disgusting. How do you know they are? They voted for Donald Trump. So that's what's really going on here. Dismissing Trump voters as evil allows those actors on stage last night, not to mention tech moguls in boardrooms and the entire political establishment here in D.C., to sustain the current, very warped system and still believe they're not just good people, but the very best people. Last night's show also exposed something else. Many of America's most famous artists aren't really artists. They're hacks. Their shows are dumb. Their art is crap. They're not impressive. John Oliver's weekday Sanctimony Fest won Best Variety Series? In what world? An utterly distorted world. A place warped by ideology where political imperatives supersede art. A place where everybody has to pretend that Ta-Nehisi Coates writes well. A country in which the wooden stupidity of The Handmaid's Tale is ignored because the story's message is just so very important at a critical time like this. That show won 5 awards last night, by the way. Of course it did. Politics never improves art. It only corrupts art, turning free thinkers into robots and beauty into propaganda. We should not be surprised. Wendy Acifo is a professor of education at Johns Hopkins University, and she joins us tonight. Professor, thanks for coming up.
Thank you for having me.
So look, just to be totally clear, I'm not whining that liberals are acting liberal.
Okay.
Or that Hollywood is liberal. Knew that. I'm bothered by the distorting effect that politics has on art. And I fear that no one on stage last night was even allowed to offer a contrary opinion, not just about Trump, but about America itself. Like there's this orthodoxy that just produces really crappy art. That bothers me.
Well, you know, as Americans, it's okay for us to be critical of our president. That's the beauty of a democracy.
Amen.
And, you know, President Trump is not beyond reproach. But as entertainers and as comedians, what they do is they use real life to entertain. And we see that take center stage when we see Alec Baldwin winning, you know, an Emmy for his portrayal of Donald Trump. We see Kate McKinnon winning an Emmy for her portrayal of Hillary Clinton, as well as Kellyanne Conway. So what happens here is when you elect a reality star as president and he becomes a celebrity and commander-in-chief, you cannot be mad when he is center stage and he is the brunt of all jokes.
And I'm not, actually.
Yeah.
And I think he wants to be center stage.
He
and
does.
I think there is a rich vein there, and I get it, and I understand it's funny. Some of it is funny.
Absolutely.
What bothers me is that there's clearly a kind of political affirmative action at work where stuff that's not The Handmaid's Tale, are you serious? wins 5 awards, not because the story is convincing or elevating or interesting or anything other than wooden and dumb, because it is, but because it's like an allegory that's important. And that's just like devalues art. Do you see?
No, because art is what we make it, and beauty, it's true, and beauty has the ability to be interpreted differently based on who views it,
But wait
right?
a second, that's true. There's a subjective element. But there's also, like, at least an idea of excellence. You shouldn't be rewarded for mouthing the same stupid slogans that everybody else is, and then have the gall to call yourself an artist or a free thinker. You are merely a robot going along with the crowd, as these people are.
So is the problem what they said on the Emmys, or is the problem what they do when they're acting and they're portraying their art?
I just think the whole thing is distorted. I mean, again, I'm not against mocking this or any other president or having heterodox views, but that's the point. No heterodox views are allowed. Like, you have to ascribe to a certain worldview. That's the opposite of free thinking. These are just like political functionaries, they're like bureaucrats.
Well, there are people in Hollywood who have different thinking. Whether you look at Caitlyn Jenner, you know, there's people who have different thinking. Not everyone in Hollywood is liberal. Not everyone in Hollywood should be a liberal. The beauty of our country is our diversity, and not just who we are, but how we think. So at the end of the day, no one ideology should lead us, whether you're in Hollywood or whether you're in Wisconsin.
Well, I agree with that completely, and I actually believe in diversity in the true sense.
Absolutely.
You treat people as individuals, you judge them by what they do, not by where they were born or how they look.
Absolutely.
And with that in mind, the actress at the outset who said she was rooting for anyone who was black, I just thought, look, I don't think she should be in jail for it.
Right.
But if someone got up and said, I'm supporting people who are white because they're white, I would say that's disgusting. Like, actually, you should treat people as individuals. But nobody said anything about it. Why?
You see, so I think knowing Issa Rae's show, which is very diverse, and having watched it a few times, again, I cannot speak for her because I'm not in her head.
Right.
But from my thought process and seeing the diversity of her show, she's saying that she wants to see individuals win and have a diverse background when it comes to Emmys. And yesterday, we saw that. We saw the first African-American woman win for writing a comedic play.
Hold on.
You know?
Let me just, and I'm not against, I've never seen the show. I'm not against her personally.
Yeah, because it's very diverse.
But it seems the opposite of diverse. It seems monochromatic. She's saying, I want people of one specific color to win. That is the opposite of diversity. And it also suggests that a person's color is the most important thing about that person. And I just don't believe that. And I hope that nobody else believes that because it's wrong.
Our country wasn't founded on that, and what matters is not your color. What matters is us coming together. And again, not being in her head, but just seeing her art form time and time again. She is a diverse thinker, and she was basically trying to say, you know, it'll be great if we escape from the norm and we have individuals who represent all walks of life walking across that stage.
Yeah, she only mentioned one group, and that's I just think it's a divisive habit of thought.
It's beautiful that the first Muslim and first South Asian actually won an award for acting yesterday, and that's the diversity we need in this country.
I think looking at the world like that gets you to civil war, actually. I think you should look at people first as individuals.
Absolutely.
What did this person do? What does he believe?
What's
what has
their merit?
He achieved?
Absolutely.
Exactly right. And as soon as you see people as indistinguishable from anybody else in their same group, that's when people really start hating each other.
Absolutely. We can't be divisive. That does not help us.
But you don't see that as divisive, to say I'm rooting for people just because of how they look.
So again, I am not in her head, but again, looking at her artwork and her art product, what I have seen from her has been diversity and inclusion. So I believe that what she was trying to say was, we want to see people walk across that stage who are diverse thinkers.
So she was basically, she meant the exact opposite of what she said.
You should bring her on the show and ask her.
I would love to have her on. Look, I don't want to hassle this one person about whom I know nothing. It's just, she seems a metaphor, really, for a kind of thinking that's very pervasive right now, that I'm rooting for my group or my team or my tribe, and I just think that, I think we should think of each other as Americans.
Absolutely.
Finally, the Emmys, the numbers are going down.
Yes.
And it does make me wonder, maybe there are lots of reasons for that, but it makes me wonder, they don't care that Americans don't want to watch their political lectures, but they keep giving the same lectures. Why do you think that is?
Well, when you frame it like that, that's statistically dubious. Because if you look at the totality of the situation, the numbers did go down. However, the numbers also went down in 2016, and it was a 5% drop from the numbers in 2015. So what we're seeing here is not just the Emmys. With award shows across the board, their numbers are going down. So I would appeal to actually the people who run these award shows and say, hey, listen, the award viewership is going down. down. So it happened during the Obama administration, the numbers were going down. And this year's Emmy, just to put it into context, has the same viewership as last year's Emmy.
So do you think, so
tied.
maybe, you make a fair point. I mean, maybe America just doesn't have an appetite for watching rich people celebrate themselves. How many more times do we need to watch rich people give themselves awards?
Well, everyone, if you are deserving of an award, you should get one, whether you're rich or not, Tucker.
Okay. A Handmaid's Tale. It's like, it's a parody.
I heard it's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for having me.